Greetings, I'm John Kerr, the host of Cognicore's The Consulting Technology Podcast. Today, I'm going to be joined by Carlo Arqueros, a leading force and an active voice for business in Peru. Carlo's career spans the Middle East, Europe, the US, and now South America, leading business in this developing nation. Today, we're going to be talking about his projections for business over the next 15 years, what leadership really means in a disruptive global economy, and what can emerging markets do in order to gain a competitive advantage in today's changing world. This is an interview you don't want to miss, and I hope you'll join us. Carlo, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining me. I'd like to begin by talking about your career. It's been incredible. It spans business strategy, finance, international investment, and now you're the CEO of Executive Nations. You're shaping the future of global business from South America. Before we dive into all of the wonderful questions that I have for you, I'd like to know just a little bit about you and what led to the creation of Executive Nations.
Initially, when I started my career in 2006, 2007, and the cooperation I had with other countries, I saw tremendous opportunities in Asia, Europe, and Americas. And this is one of the reasons why we decided to set up Executive Nations, because of connectivity, relationship with partners across the globe, and the idea of connecting one country to another, business people as well as executive. In general terms, it allowed me to progress to the next step and see wonderful bilateral accomplishments.
So tell me, the business world is changing at an unprecedented pace. Technology, geopolitics, sustainability, supply chain disruptions, they're redefining the global economy. From your strategic vantage point, what does globalization look like over the next 15 years, say by 2040? Is it an evolution of current trends we're seeing now, or are we looking towards a fresh, completely new paradigm?
By 2040, globalization will be shaped by digital acceleration, geopolitical realignments, and sustainable business models. The digital economy will dominate as AI, blockchain, and automation drive international transactions. For example, companies that fail to integrate technology into their global strategies will struggle to compete. Economic power is also shifting. Emerging markets, particularly in Latin America and Africa, will play a larger role in global trade. Instead of a few dominant economies, we will see a more multipolar world where regional players hold significant influence. At Executive Nations, we'll help businesses prepare for this shift by focusing on adaptive investment strategies. We work with the governments, private equity firms, financial institutions, and corporate leaders to create opportunities that align with this future.
Interesting, thank you. You've worked in Latin America, the Middle East, Europe. Investors are constantly looking for the next big opportunity. Where should they be looking that perhaps they aren't looking? And what benefits do emerging economies like LATAM, Peru, have to offer for interested investors?
Latin America is one of the most overlooked opportunities in global investments. It has long been perceived as a volatile region. In reality, it's undergoing a major transformation. Governments are prioritizing infrastructure. Foreign investment is increasing, and the digital ecosystem are expanding. Let me give an example. Peru, as in the city of Chancay, is one of the greatest projects ever. The development will reduce transport time between China and Latin America, strengthening trade and positioning Peru as a key logistic hub. Investors should be more paying a close attention to these types of strategic projects. The idea of connecting the port worldwide will make a significant contribution, not only in Peru, but in South America as a whole. So emerging countries have already started with this revolution era, like construction, mining, agriculture, and tourism, for example. Consequently, major investments and technological changes need to be made to empower the fourth industrial revolution, for example. However, there is still a lot of work to do in countries that are still struggling on the second revolution. I think one of the major concerns that emerging countries have is the development of Wi-Fi connectivity in communication technology. Blue chip companies are now working with governments in regards to future tech awareness and readiness. And with these more mega trends, will adapt to a new era of technological advancements. In Asian countries, for example, as well as European countries, that economic sector will be aggressive for the next 10 years. I mean, it has to be aggressive. So when a country is applying new IT concepts and analyzing how they will have impact in society, like the crypto and blockchain, the sector grows, forming a balanced curve between supply and demand. So Ray Dalio, he mentions the redistribution of wealth after the four forces that occurred during the last century and the current one. So that, what are we doing with the money? He asked himself. Are we spending responsibly? Nowadays, with the new app and other electronic devices, for example, markets are creating new ways of connection and to improve levels of hybrid work, for example. And executive nations will help investors identify and navigate these high impact opportunities, ensuring they align with the economic and regulatory landscape of the region.
Great, thank you. For the next question, I'd like to know a bit about mergers and acquisitions. They have long been a dominant force in business expansion, but we're seeing new financial structures emerge: private equity, hedge funds, and now blockchain and crypto-backed investments. How do these trends reshape business growth, particularly in developing economies, emerging nations?
I think mergers and acquisitions continue to drive business growth, but today's investment landscape is more diverse than ever. Private equity, hedge funds, and government-to-government initiatives, for example, are now financing structures and redefining how large-scale projects are funded. One of the most significant trends we see is the integration of ESG factors into investment decisions. Profitability is no longer the only concern. Investors want long-term sustainability and social impact. Diverse economic power is another key aspect. Emerging markets will play a larger role in global economy, challenging traditional powers and creating a multipolar world. As increased cultural intermingling through media and travel, it will enhance global collaboration and understanding. Overall, globalization will become more integrated with technology and sustainability, reshaping social and economic structure globally. I think in my structure or in my day-to-day, if I can say, we collaborate with financial institutions and corporate leaders to design investment structures that maximize returns while aligning with these evolving trends. Executive nations present an agenda of different events throughout the year that includes M&A forums, M&A activities, global activities, for example, joint venture opportunities across the globe, supply chain initiatives from one country and others, etc.
Okay, so this might be a bit of a difficult question, but ultimately, Latin America has incredible potential. It has resources, it has talents, it has a growing consumer base, but yet it's still experiencing economic struggles, particularly with volatility and the exchange of currency fluctuating frequently, which makes investors uncertain about what their options really are here and whether it's sustainable. You've been on the front line dealing with these issues, and I would love to know, what are the key barriers in this region, and what is executive nations doing to help overcome these barriers and generate economic certainty for potential investors in this market?
Latin America's biggest challenge is not a lack of talent or resources. It is the need for long-term stability, political uncertainty, inconsistent regulations, and underdeveloped infrastructure have historically discouraged investment. But the moment is changing. Governments are taking more business-friendly approach, and major projects in energy and transportation are creating new opportunities for investors. Infrastructure and construction developments generate a positive GDP as well as public investments. Then the idea of having good companies for the benefit of these purposes, the results will be impacting. If people understand the history of our lives and the lives of our ancestors, wars that happens, pandemics, people who die because of these elements, in order to reduce that, I think is education as part of the key changing, and how you educate to your family, your children, is key for personal development. Do they know what kind of environment they live in? This is the question we ask all the time. And if we prepare them for the future challenges, it takes time and extra effort, of course, but the reward is significant. At our company, we help businesses and investors enter into these markets with confidence. We provide the strategic insight and logical and local expertise needed to navigate these challenges successfully.
So tell me, you've lived and worked in some of the world's most dynamic business environments. You've been in Europe, you've been in the United Arab Emirates, you've worked in some of the most dynamic business hubs throughout all of these spaces, and Latin America. What are the most valuable lessons you've learned from working in these places, particularly in regards to, say, leadership or leadership philosophy?
Each region has taught me something valuable. The UAE showed me how strategic vision and government support can rapidly transform an economy. London reinforced the importance of financial precision and adaptability. Latin America has taught me the value of resilience and long-term investment. Working across with these markets has given me a unique perspective on global business. This is why I built Executive Nations. We bridge the gap between emerging markets and established economies, creating pathways for strategic investment and sustainable growth. Being in those cities, different cities, I'm talking about the strategic cities, meeting different types of people, different backgrounds, has enabled me to explore thousands of opportunities. By the university of life, gained through all these years, the calculation has no limit.
Okay, that segues nicely into my next question, which is about leadership in a disruptive world. The world is constantly changing, it's very unpredictable. You never know when the next ChatGPT is going to come out, or the next piece of disruptive technology, or something that is going to completely change the way we do business. And unfortunately, the role of a CEO is evolving and changing daily. Today's leaders need to balance digital transformation, geopolitical uncertainty, and the sustainable development efforts. From your perspective, what makes a great business leader, and how should leaders be preparing for the future?
Well, when I started to be part of an interviewing panel back to the years 2007, 2008, I can recall on an occasion when someone asked me if I had the chance to start my career from all over again, will you choose the same career? And the answer is yes. Being in finance, tax, general admin, and overall finance and investment portfolio management, it gave me the roadmap for career growth. And this is something that I love to do on my day-to-day activities. The role of the CEO nowadays is evolving. Leaders today must be strategists, innovators, and connectors. It is no longer enough to simply make decisions. The best leaders understand digital transformation, geopolitical risks, and sustainability. CEOs must also build strong teams and culture that can adapt to change. They need to think long-term while staying agile enough to respond to immediate challenges. We help businesses, leaders develop strategies that keep them ahead of disruption. We focus on preparing them for the future of leadership in a complex global landscape.
One thing I've really noticed about your career from conversations that you and I have had and from looking at your body of work is that you have really scaled as a leader. So you began working with sales and operations, and then when you mastered that, you went on to finance and accounting, and then from that, you're currently doing general management and overseeing big projects. What was your approach to lifelong learning and improving your skills as you scaled in responsibility?
Very good question, actually. The power of routine as an initial point of a typical day. I started my career very young, coming from a family of restaurateurs. I had to do bar jobs, waiting jobs, and general management at our family business. Later, I can recall my first job at KLM Cargo by working in a service department company, which I gained responsibility at an early stage in order to develop myself professionally. And by the time when I was in London, I was taking part of one of the strongest technology companies, Oracle. Then other companies in the supply chain like DHL, hotel and leisure entertainment sector, and in the last 8 years mainly construction sector. I am now involved with consulting companies like Foresight Strategy and Consulting for the development of planning and overall operations, bringing in strategic tools for the Latin American market. And one of this typical routine day is to set up the agenda for the week and to perform the best scenario time throughout my day. At this point, I try to allocate my time with my time management control and to follow up and to assign certain amount of time for spending wonderful moments with my family and friends. Over time, I think if you are not thinking about the future, you don't know how to navigate in situations where experience is needed. Then it will take you back from the initial point rather than playing an actual game.
As you've demonstrated, you have invaluable business experience and a lot to offer our listeners. Before we go, I wanted to know if you had a final message for business managers, directors, and especially people that are new into this sort of momentum and cadence of how business is working today. It's changing people's lives when they become entrepreneurs and business owners. And the body of research that we have and the guides that we have are often outdated. Things are changing so quickly now. So what would you have to say to anyone that wants to enter these fields or wants to thrive in these fields?
I have two words in mind: mindset and communication. If you start thinking about how to be in a position with slightly level of risk, then your mindset creates a specific milestone for achieving results in the shortest possible time. The idea of articulate your goals as a person to the best interest of the company, you need to know the mission and the vision of your organization and the future of the nature of applying your abilities will let your inner strength work adequately. Therefore, if you think that you don't have the necessary skills, then there is enough information on the net about business disciplines, courses for professional growth, and so on. I do meditate, for example, and I take that as a strong, let's say, decision that I have on my day-to-day working activities. Is that I constantly read the newspaper. I see this as a good therapy. And other articles related to technology, I do that for reading. For example, inventions or the future of the world, things like that. The advice for them in order to develop as they can is not to get disappointed if something went wrong or if did not comply with the system, etc. A key factor to understand the purpose of this is to fail, because you learn from mistakes and you got to talk to yourself that you can do better than anyone else. Then finally, as I said, communication is paramount important to perform to the best scenario.
Carlo, this has been an insightful conversation. Thank you so much for joining me today. If the listeners want to find out more about what you're doing or more about potential opportunities, where should they go?
At Executive Nations, we are not just analyzing trends, we are actively shaping them. If you're looking for strategic investment opportunities in emerging markets, or if you want to better understand the future of organizations, visit our organization at executivenations.org. We work with investors, businesses, and policymakers to create solutions that drive long-term success.
Carlo, I just want to say thank you very much for your time today.